Good evening, ladies and gents, and welcome to Back of the Shelf, the show which tries to spread the love around the games left standing quietly in the corner, not wanting to be a bother. Allow me to introduce my friends and co-hosts. Say, Dobry den, David.
Dobry den, David.
Sorry, Dobry den.
That's okay, no problem.
Because you sound like a crazy person now. Say, hola, amigos, Gerald.
Hola, amigos.
Well done.
Thank
And
you.
tonight we are joined by a special guest, the notorious Tom, he of the UKGE deck builder situation.
Fiasco.
I didn't want to use the word fiasco, Tom. It was a bit strong. Well, situation, we'll leave it there. How are you, Tom?
Controversy.
Yeah, I'm very well, thank you very much.
Good, thanks for
come
joining
for
us.
revenge.
How are we, gents? How has our week been?
It's been a mediocre at best, I guess.
Oh yes, I know. Gerald's got some. He had a tough week.
Tough week at work.
Yeah.
That's why my voice is all it's wrecked. Wrecked my voice. I wasted it at work.
Oh no.
Did we play any games? More importantly,
Dave, I played games with you and Tom. I played games with both you guys. What did we play?
It's true. We played a wonderful game set in the West called Western Legends. Which
Delicious.
Rich and thematic gossamer.
Yeah, Tom, was
fantastic.
Tom, was that the first time you played it?
Yeah, that's the first time.
What did you think? I know these two love it.
It was superb, but I think that these guys really make it a great game. It was a lot of fun.
It's true. We do make every game great, don't we?
That's true. I agree.
So. Yeah,
we do.
I'm going to take that. Yeah.
Even like Docker Jong, that was great with us.
Apart from Docker Jong, we do not talk of.
But we were talking about it before, where it definitely feels like, people throw this phrase about where, it's group dependent and everything. It definitely feels like Western Legends is group dependent. Like you have to immerse yourself in that one.
From what I've heard of Western Legends, everyone that enjoys it embraces the theme fully, and everyone that doesn't.
Good English, bro.
Perfect sentencing.
Nice.
We also played Medici, an old Reiner Knizia classic.
Yeah.
I almost got that to the table.
It's very good. I like that game a lot. Yeah, it's well worth getting to the table. It's very fun.
I'd like to play that at the beginning of the night because that was really interesting.
Yeah, it's one of those games. It's so simple in mechanics, and there's a lot going on underneath, just like all Knizia games, I guess.
Yeah, with all these crazy scoring. That Knizia, it's crazy scores.
It's true.
I played Timeline. Have you played Timeline?
No. Any good?
I've got Star Wars Timeline.
Yes. Have you played it?
Yeah, I liked it. I've only played it a couple of times, but it's a nice little quiz game, isn't it?
Yes, I had a feeling I would like Timeline. It's you get events. You have to try and decide where the event happened in the timeline of car. Oh my God, it's my alarm again.
Ben, is that's your podcast alarm, isn't it? Time to record, Ben.
The podcast begins now.
You put the event in the timeline. I thought this would be great to teach Bronwyn about history, and she absolutely loved it. So it was great. Played it this morning. Brilliant.
Yeah, they're good fun.
I haven't been able to play games because I've moved house. I played the Move House game.
Oh, didn't you move into like a mansion or something, Ben? Don't you have a?
Yes, a very large, bizarrely large house. I have my own games room now.
Wow,
awesome. That is awesome.
Wow.
Yeah, tremendous.
Wait, where's the? Do you have like a dedicated gaming table in the games room, or do you?
No, it's not that big. I went down to IKEA. We went to IKEA yesterday.
Calm down, show off.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Amber went and found a table, and I went in the what do you call this? The like leftovers section. What do you call that? Where they got the damaged whatever. Or the X display.
X display. The dent and dings.
Found this huge table. And Amber comes in with a little table. I said, no, let's not get that one. Look at this one. So now we've got a massive table in there.
It's like a medieval banquet hall now.
Yeah, fabulous. Perfect size.
Does the room fit the table? Does the table now dominate the whole room? So sort of skirt around the edges?
No, Tom, genuinely, this table has just disappeared into this house. I will never live in a house so large again in my life. It's ridiculously big.
Oh,
Wow.
that's nice.
That's great.
Yes.
Yeah,
Well,
we're very happy for you.
You should do a back of the shelf tour. You show us.
Well, we haven't actually had a real good. We cleaned the front room this morning, and that took a bit of effort. And also we have the dog, right? Because the dog is charging around all over the place. So we'll see.
I've heard you no longer need to take the dog outside for its walks. The house is so big.
I open a door and I don't see a dog for 3 days. He just walks around the garden.
Is it true that you haven't discovered all the rooms in the house yet?
There are a couple of rooms we just don't go in. Yeah.
Wow.
We don't bother heating the West Wing.
Is it true they've added you to Mad King Lungfig? One of your rooms is in there.
He's got the grotto.
Yeah. Ben's grotto.
Well, it sounds lovely.
Yeah, that does sound lovely. Nice.
Yeah, we'll see. Right, that was nice. Okay, so moving swiftly on. Yeah.
Yeah.
Tonight we are going to go back to our special episode, the chin-wag episode, where we're going to look at a game in some depth and discuss the ins and outs of the game in I've lost my words.
So professional.
Discuss the game, whatever. But before we get to that, let's have a little bit of jingly jangly.
Oh.
Title, please, David.
Oh.
Yeah.
Get ready for this one, guys. This one goes on a little bit longer because of the music, but I hope you enjoy. That's me and Ben playing Biblios there.
That was amazing.
Notice Ben's throwing the board.
I can see where
Ben was in it.
That was David.
Yeah. Took some doing that. I'm waiting for lawyers from the 1960s to come after me for that.
It's very impressive, Dave.
Thank you.
Sir. Bravo,
Okay.
bravo indeed.
Right, today's game is called Titans of the Genre. So I'm going to select a category such as worker placement, economic, or rondel. I'm going to hit that link in Board Game Geek because you can get those mechanisms down the side there. I hit the link. What I'm going to ask you is to name one of the top 3 games according to Board Game Geek in that category. Okay, we're going to take it in turns. We're going to have no chaos and bedlam here because Tom's new. So I'm going to ask you in turn.
Okay.
I will say a category. You will have to think or guess one game that is in the top 3 in the ranking system that has this as their mechanism.
Serious question.
Yep.
Because Tom's new and he's not played this game before, are you going to bully him if he doesn't understand?
Yes.
Okay.
It's already started.
He's already trying to beguile and seduce me, Anthony. It's going to be tough.
David. We're going to go alphabetical. David. So let me just be clear. I'm going to select a category. For example, the first one is going to be economic. According to the BGG ranks, one of the highest ranked games that consider this one of their mechanics. Okay.
What am I naming? One game or more?
One. Just any one of the top 3 games.
Okay.
No, top 3 games has to be the top 3.
Top 3
in economic.
Wow.
In the economics, has economic as its descriptor or its mechanism. Okay. You've all heard these games. You'll pinch yourself when you hear the answers. Okay. So the first category, David, is economic.
I am going to say Chinatown?
Incorrect.
No.
Gerald.
Oh no! I've forgotten board games. I'm sitting in the cat room.
Think of the highest ranked games.
The highest ranked
that would have economic
games. Oh God!
Is it going to come back round to us?
No.
Yeah, do I get a go on the economic side?
Yeah. Don't worry. You'll get a go.
Keyflower.
Keyflower. Incorrect.
Is Keyflower even an economic game? I don't know.
It's got monies in it.
Top 3.
I'm going to go with Brass Birmingham.
Well done, Tom. Look at Tom showing you boys how to play the game.
Of course. Brass Birmingham's got money in it.
dear, oh
France
dear.
Birmingham, is that an economic game? Well, according to BGG, I guess it is, but I don't know. I wouldn't have thought that. How my foot's got stuck.
Well, it has an economy in it, doesn't it? It has coal and iron. That's the economy.
All right, Mr. Expert.
Mr. Board Games.
Succinctly put. Okay, number 2. The category is modular board. Gerald.
Board.
Which game, highest top 3 ranked games, has modular board as one of its mechanisms, categories?
Catan?
Incorrect, Gerald. Tom.
Does this include? Is this a base game, or can I include expansions?
No, it's a base game.
I don't know. I'm just going to go with Survive because it's the only one I can think of off the top of my head. I'm pretty sure it's not in top 3 though.
Incorrect. David.
Twilight Imperium.
Well done,
Of course.
David.
Yeah.
Look at this.
Yeah.
Sorry, I should have said. So economic, you could have had Brass Birmingham, Terraforming Mars, or Twilight Imperium. And modular board, you could have Gloomhaven, Twilight Imperium, or the Gaia Project.
Oh.
Okay. Tom, you're up first. The category is dice rolling.
Okay. Castle of Burgundy.
No.
You do roll some dice in that.
I know you do, but it's not the top games. David.
Dice
Top
rolling.
ranked games that include some dice rolling.
Las Vegas.
No.
Oh.
Gerald?
No.
So that has dice in it.
Roll for the Galaxy.
One.
No.
Oh.
What about
You could have had
or something.
Could have had Twilight Imperium,
What
Star
the
Wars
hell?
Rebellion, or War of the Rings 2nd Edition.
Sorry, who makes these lists?
Don't argue with Board Game Geek. This is it. Okay, so everyone's equally doing. No.
Not even King of Tokyo's in that top. Come on.
Sorry, I don't know anything about board games.
Okay, David, back to you.
Yes.
The category is card drafting.
Dominion.
No.
Oh, that's not card drafting, is it? Oh, damn it.
Card draft.
Oh, why did I say that? Stupid.
What's card drafting again?
That's where you draft cards.
You draft a card. What does that mean?
Oh God.
I'll put you down. I'll put you down for incorrect there, Jack.
I think it's Twilight Imperium.
No, incorrect.
Oh, okay,
Tom.
sorry.
I'm going to go with Terraforming Mars. Is that card drafting?
Oh no, incorrect. I'm afraid.
You do have
No,
cards.
it's not.
It is card
It's not-
drafting, isn't it?
It's not in the top 3. Though.
I
what
forgot
is
what the
the
difference
difference?
between card
You
drafting
could
and
have
deck
had
building was.
Through the Ages, 7 Wonders Duel, or Concordia.
Can you define card drafting? I just want to know what the.
You get a card and you draft it.
Concordia doesn't have card drafting.
You're a gracious host.
Hey! Don't! I can't help this.
Like Concordia doesn't have
went-
card drafting in it at all. That is
Well,
ridiculous.
you need to write into Board Game Geek then.
I'm sick of
After
this
you
already.
finish this.
Stupid.
Okay, the next category.
Yep.
None of these games have been mentioned before. Gerald, you're going first.
Huh.
The category is action points.
Oh.
Action points. I'm going to spend my action points like in Scythe.
Incorrect.
I have
Tom,
action points in that game.
I thought this would be so easy.
Why is it so hard?
This is the
Tom,
hardest game
action
I've ever
points.
played in my life.
It's the second hardest.
You said that last week.
The first hardest was name the board game from the letter.
Oh yeah, that was a bit of a challenge.
So it's a very difficult game.
Hang on, what's action point?
Tom, action points, where you have a certain number of action points.
Like in
You can do
Wasteland
things.
Express.
What about routes?
Wasteland Express.
Route, no, incorrect. I don't think Route's in the top
Is that what you call an
20,
action
is it?
point? I don't even know where it is. Yeah.
David.
I had one, but I've forgotten what it was.
Action points. Games.
That's really crazy. I don't know. Pulsar 2849.
Incorrect.
I don't think that is action point selection. If that's dice place or whatever.
Okay.
Board Game
You could
Geek's
have
probably got that down as an economic game.
You could have had Pandemic Legacy Season 1,
I couldn't have.
Arkham Horror the card game, or Blood
Yeah.
Rage.
Oh,
There you
3
go.
games I don't care about.
Oh, don't get all sour now because you're not doing well.
How am I doing? I think I'm doing okay.
Gerald, you're doing well. Yes. Okay.
You're here.
You're here.
Okay, so we're halfway through the game.
Halfway through. Oh my god. Okay.
Let me clarify. These are games. Let's think of games in the top 20 in the board game, top 25, top 3 that have this as their mechanism. You're not looking for the best negotiation game. You're looking for games that have in the top 20.
I think
would
we
have-
all understand, but we
Yeah,
don't
well,
agree with the list.
The evidence suggests that isn't the case. But okay, we'll carry on. Okay. So number 6.
Yep.
The category is negotiation. Tom, you're first.
Oh bloody hell! Well, I want it to be Bonanza, but I don't think it's that high up, is it? I don't remember. I don't really look at the ranks that often.
No one does, Tom. No one
yeah.
does.
Not even the people making these lists look at it.
Yeah. Shall I go with Bonanza?
Yeah,
Go for it,
I think
man.
that's a good choice.
Yeah, Bonanza. I'm going with Bonanza.
Incorrect.
No.
Chinatown.
I think you should be telling
Incorrect.
us where they are in the list, so at least we know the discrepancy.
True.
Gerald.
Twilight Imperium.
Well done, Gerald. There you go.
Oh my god, these lists are dumb.
Very good. David,
Thank
you're
you.
up. The category is
Twilight Imperium.
bluffing.
Oh,
No, bluffing. I can confirm that none of these games have come up yet. Nope.
okay.
Oh, sorry. Negotiation. You could have had Twilight Imperium, Pax Pamir, or Rising Sun.
What?
So,
Oh, okay.
number 7. Bluffing. David, you're first.
The Resistance.
Incorrect.
What?
Gerald.
And sorry, in none of these games in bluffing have come up yet.
I made a misspoke. They have
As I think Star Wars Rebellion would be in this.
incorrect.
Oh,
What? That's the ultimate bluffing game.
Tom.
I can't think of one. So there was bluffing in Western Legends. I'm going with that.
Incorrect. You could have had Android Netrunner,
Meh.
Battlestar Galactica, or
Meh.
Rising Sun.
Meh.
Okay. We enter the home stretch.
I'd like to play
Thank
Battlestar
God.
Galactica. That'd be interesting.
Gerald,
Yeah, I would actually.
you're first. The category is I cut, you choose.
Haha.
I cut, you choose.
Yes. That is a mechanism, quite famous mechanism. One of the oldest mechanisms.
Jamie Stegmaier's favourite mechanism, I believe. Sorry, just so everyone knows, Jamie Stegmaier is a friend of the show.
Yeah.
As in, he wants.
Not anymore after this.
Yeah.
After this shenanigans.
What the hell is it? I cut, you choose. This is
I
not a
can't
thing.
explain it. I can't
It's
explain
as it sounds.
I cut,
it. I cut.
you choose.
Yeah.
Twilight Imperium.
Incorrect.
Okay, so it's not quite as it sounds. For you.
Tom.
Isn't Dave's favorite game Hamakoji? That's an I cut you choose game, isn't
Oh,
it?
Tom, I think you've hold the boat there. Yes, that is correct.
Oh, that was the one I was going to
Serious?
say.
Oh,
Yeah.
I stole it from you.
That's like the ultimate I cut you
Well
choose
done,
game.
Tom.
Shit.
Oh,
I did play that like a couple
okay.
weeks ago, so it's fresh in my mind.
I love Hanama Koji.
Okay, that's why I don't know it.
No, I don't. Now that that's been used up, I'm trying to think of any others.
Oh, I'm really sorry.
No, that's okay. That's a good show. I think at least it got named by someone tonight. As long as it's name checked every week, that's fine. I can't think of any other games I've played that do that.
It's a rare mechanism.
Star Realms.
No. Junk Island or Julasaur Island. All the islands. Oh, last couple of questions.
played.
Here we go. Tom, you're first. The category is auction/bidding.
All I want to do is like knee-jerk reaction, say Biblios, but I actually have no idea where that's ranked. Yeah, go on then. What about Biblios?
Incorrect. Well done, though.
I accept
David.
that.
Modern art.
Oh,
Incorrect.
of course. Oh, no.
No, what?
There.
Gerald.
Surely.
For sale?
Incorrect. You could have had 5 Tribes, Keyflower, or Coimbra.
Wow.
Oh, The magic is almost at an end.
Oh dear.
Question
Oh, dear.
10. David, you're up again.
Mm.
Category is territory building.
Kingdom builder.
Incorrect.
Oh, come on.
Gerald.
Gaia project.
Well done, Gerald. Very nice. Excellent.
Yeah.
Tom.
Yeah, I don't really. What is territory building? How is that defined? You have to
Build
like.
up a territory.
I cut, you build. It's the same thing.
Let's go with Twilight Imperium again. God.
Incorrect. Oh dear, gents. Good lord. I thought
Wait,
that was
what were
gonna
the
be
others?
so
What were the others?
There was Terraforming Mars, Gaia Project, or Spirit Island. I thought this would be so easy. Lesson learned.
Did you really think that?
Yeah,
This relies on a knowledge of the top 100 games then, BGG, right?
These are popular games. I thought, oh man, it'd be so
I haven't played 90% of those games.
Yeah, we're all about back of the shelf, man.
You know, Gloomhaven's a modular board and that stuff. Economic, I thought Brass.
I really don't know much about
I didn't know Gloomhaven had a board. I thought it was just like you read out from a book.
Yeah, I know very little about those games.
Well, okay. Do I even bother to add up the scores? Okay.
Come on, who won, Ben?
I think Tom won.
1, 2. Oh, it's a draw between Gerald and Tom.
Oh, no.
2 out of 10. Well done.
I'll take it.
Congratulations, Tom. Well done, sir.
David, would you like your score?
Nope. Well, that's way too long. I'm not going to do that for 20 seconds.
Right. Well, thank you for that, guys. That was humbling.
Yeah, thanks, Ben.
Right?
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. On to the meat in the meal, the main course. Today, we are going to have a chin-wag about Scythe. So a quick rundown of some basics. Scythe is currently ranked 14 on Board Game Geek. You know Board Game Geek? Are you all aware of Board Game Geek?
Never heard of it.
Ranks. Okay. It is rank 14. It is designed by Jamie Stegmaier, friend of the show. It was released in 2016. So we are going to have a chat about this game. And I think we have, I'm not too sure about you two. I know that Tom has come on because he loves this game. Am I correct, Tom?
I was asked to come on because I played the game many times.
He's a Scythe expert.
It's not like I wedged myself in.
Okay. First of all, we're going to go through the same basic categories as we did last time. We're going to start at the start and work through them. So we're going to start with art. So quickly before we have a quick chat about this, the artist is Jakub Rosalski. I think I've said that correctly. Would anyone? You can have this is a tiebreaker. This is worth 2 points for the quiz. So Dave, you can be in here.
Mm-hmm.
Would anyone like to tell me how many other games are credited to Jakub Rosalski on Board Game Geek as he is the main designer?
8.
27.
0.
No. No, none of you are correct. He is credited with 4 other games, as far as I can work out. 4 other games, 4 very ugly games. I genuinely had to go and check that he was the artist for these games because they look bizarre. Now, I mention this because I remember when the leak, the sort of preview for this came out, and I saw that art that you can see on the screen of the farmers gathering in the wheat and those huge mechs shooting things at each other in the background, and it blew my mind. I thought this was one of the greatest things I'd ever seen. Looked at some more of the art, and you see lots of, it has that Eastern European vibe, but they obviously a little bit of, he calls it the 1920 plus universe, I think. Yeah. It has that edgy Eastern European, but animals and a little bit of science fiction, these mechs and these steampunk, I think is the...
I think diesel punk is for this one. Diesel punk.
Background. And as far as I can work out, just came out of nowhere. Because if you look at the games he designed before, they look nothing like this. They had the standard cartoon-y, it's just not very standoutish. And then he bangs in with this. So I was blown away. I think it was one of the greatest looking box covers I'd ever seen in my life. Do you guys remember the first time you saw it?
It was a summer's afternoon. No, I don't.
Actually, yeah, I genuinely don't remember the first time seeing like a copy of Scythe. I can't remember seeing it.
This is going to lead into, this is going to sort of set the tone for the rest of the evening, because I was so excited by that box cover. I thought this is speaking to my soul. It was the greatest thing I'd ever seen.
Yeah.
Were you grabbing strains in the street and shaking them?
I was. I thought, what is this? And then you go look at the more. This, so good. There were wolves with glowy eyes, and it was so brilliant. I thought this is the greatest thing I've ever seen. So turns out there is a controversial edge to Jakub's art. Does anyone know what it is?
Yes,
I do.
Gerald,
Wasn't this a Reddit thing initially? When it came out on Reddit, and it was like the truth behind the art of Jakub Rosalski, it was the idea that they presented proof on this Reddit forum that the artist had copied like all the kind of major elements of the artwork in Scythe from existing images. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I think the technique was known as tracing. He did, which is a big no-no. But I don't really know. I don't really know what came of it in the end. I remember there being a big controversy for a while, and then I can tell you
what came of it. Jamie Stegmaier looked at it, acknowledged it, and said, the guy had to use references for, say, the cavalry soldier or the peasant, or etc., and that he was okay with it. Now we do have an artist in residence here. So, David, how would you? What are the ethics or morals of this situation?
Oh my God.
Would you?
I'm not.
Trace
would I trace
and pass off as? Because if you look at the photos, if you look at the evidence, he has taken extraordinary amounts of different photos, put them all together, and then sort of applied his sort of take on it. And sort of
I'm the same as Jerry. I don't really know what came of it. I remember it being around. No, if he did, like, I mean, we can all say this. You don't have to be an artist to say this, but yeah, if he was just copying images and I understood he was basically like photoshopping it, like copy pasting and like compositing it all together into the image he wanted, and then basically drawing it. But I don't know if that's true or not. There's a lot of evidence. Was it actually found as true?
Oh, there's no way it could not be true. I mean, the images they had were absolutely exactly the same.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's bad. That is bad, but it's a hard thing to say, because was anyone? I mean, if no one was aware of it and they believed they were getting original art, then that's awful. If people were aware of it and the images he was using were, royalty free, and he didn't need to credit anyone else for them and so on, it's pretty bad. But I don't agree with it at all. But it's done, and I hope that those that he copied from got some kind of recognition and compensation. But I don't know if that's the case. So.
Yeah, I didn't actually. It was.
I wonder how it's affected his career.
Well, he's not done anything since. That's he did a computer game.
Yeah.
And I think he has the ownership of this 1920 plus universe.
Right.
But yeah, it's sort of.
I mean, without seeing his side of it, I don't know. I don't want to judge too much, but
wasn't there like some pretty? I remember seeing the stuff on Reddit. Yeah, and it was like some pretty well-known imagery as well. And there were like people were showing like the Scythe imagery and doing a comparison, because there wasn't stuff like from like Marvel and 40K he was using. I'm pretty sure.
He couldn't have been. If they had been, and Stonemaier would be in the ground now, wouldn't they?
You think like big companies like that would chase that down?
Yeah, no, there's no way. No, I don't know. I don't know what the full. I mean, without hearing his side of it, if he could, for all we know, he could be. He could come back and say, well, no, that's how I work, and it's understood that that's part of my style, because people do stuff like that. I don't particularly like it, but hey, but I don't know. It's I don't know what I was going to say. I lost my train of thought, so I just got a notification on my computer, and it completely threw me.
Okay, so my thing was the art was incredible, blew my mind. I was so excited about the game. I could not wait to play it. Genuinely, I don't really usually get like that. This was, and I think this also was one of the first games that created a hype train and gave it full steam ahead. This was the guy that set the template for how to do it. They hit that hype train like crazy.
Full steam ahead's a great pun, by the way.
You're welcome. All right. So the art, fantastic. The components. Tom, how are the components?
Well, I mean, I think it requires those little plastic figurines, because without them, I think it would be difficult to sell that universe of this. I don't know. Is it like an alternative past or future or something? I'm not really sure.
Yes, I think the idea is in Eastern Europe, the First World War didn't end, or perhaps did end, but it's different kingdoms, it's different fiefdoms, it's different countries, and that with an added element of.
Is it that this like this city state in the middle that they call the factory, that's kind of like collapsed and created this kind of power vacuum or something, and then everyone's kind of coming in to take over? I think that's
that's what as I reckon, that's what I would call.
Yeah, I know. I do like the components. I love the mixture of the wooden ones, are absolutely spot on, and I guess the plastic ones, although they're not exactly the most attractive, they take it to a level where you can engage more with the theme, I guess. But yeah, I think the problem, going back to the artwork, people's complaints about the game were that it like presents itself as a heavy war game, and it's just not. It's like a economic game.
We're coming back to that, Tom. Don't you worry.
Because it is a really nice. But I kind of ignored the box art when I first saw it. It didn't actually like the opposite of you, Ben. I didn't really enjoy it that much. It didn't grab me, and then I wasn't really like my expectations weren't violated when I got to the game, so I just enjoyed the game rather than expecting some heavy war game. So anyway, so the components, they're great. I think they add something to the game, and I think they would probably suffer without it.
I think this is the first time I'd ever seen a double layer player board.
Yeah, I think like was it the recessed player boards? I think one of them.
That was.
My
cool.
gosh, they're gorgeous, aren't they? How everything just slots into place. Oh, it's delicious. I love it. But that's one of my favorite parts of the whole game was those recessed player boards. Rest of the components are rubbish. No, they're not. I love them. I love the mechs. They're so wild. But I always like.
They're quite nice. You say they're not.
I like
good models.
Yeah, I like stomping them on the board. They're good.
I found a perfect picture of the recessed player boards. Look at that.
Oh, look at that.
Look at that gaudy angle they're holding it at as well, and everything's just there, still in place.
It does look good. It's beautiful looking components. So beautiful art. The components, the components genuinely were fantastic. I mean, those are excellent.
Yeah, I like the mixture of wood and plastic as well.
Yeah,
I like the detailed plastic mech minis and your leader as well, and then everything else is just sort of nice wooden shapes. Which
it's got those classic Euro feels with those wooden
it really does.
And everything.
Yeah.
Also, the design of those playmats is fantastic. Like making upgrades and then moving them to make something cheaper. That's just
yes, yeah, yeah, very clever. Yeah.
Okay, so the art is fantastic. Let's picture it. Art is fantastic. We've pulled the box cover off. I was so excited. Brilliant. Look at the components set up. Amazing. One of the best components I'd ever handled.
What noise were you making at this point?
I just in stunned silence. Like I genuinely, my heart was beating. I couldn't. Sweat pouring off. No, I genuinely thought this is going to be one of those just genuinely brilliant experiences. So, Gerald.
Yes.
Rules. Could you explain briefly? Because the rule book is freely available on the Stonemaier website. So if you are generally curious, you can go and find it. But Gerald, could you briefly explain the rules?
Can I? Maybe. I mean, it's an engine building game, obviously built around this alternative universe, and players use these asymmetric factions to control different resources produced on the territories on, we mentioned it, the world board. And so basically you're just going to go around, make resources, control these different areas. You're going to encounter some stuff along the way. And as you're doing this, you're going to gain popularity and, very importantly, coins, because at the end of the game, you're going to count up all your coins. And via a multiplication kind of point salad end game bonus system, you're going to determine the winner. That's a very brief overview of Scythe. There's a lot more to it than that. But
your player board. How does your player board come into it?
Yeah, that's important.
I think Tom's in a better place to answer this one. He's already
how does the player board?
Well, you have the player board presents you like 5 possible actions or something. I can't actually remember. I haven't played it in a while, but 5 possible actions, and then you're supposed to move between them without repeating them apart from if you're the red faction. So then you can move up to a certain amount, and then that can be upgraded. I think you can produce. What else is there? Build buildings, monuments, or whatever they're called, and build mechs. I think those are the actions, aren't they? And there's a list as well, which is to recruit people, but also gain benefits from other people from around you who are around you. But that's really good, I think. There's a nice bit of positive player interaction.
Now, I have actually forgotten a little bit. Do you take one action, or do you take all your actions on your turn?
I think you take 1 per turn. That's it, isn't it?
One per turn, so then it moves on to the next person.
Yeah. So it's kind of quick, actually. It's quite nice in that sense.
It's very, the turns are very quick in this game. Considering there's a lot going on as well. I haven't played it in such a long time, but it's stuck with me because I enjoyed it so much.
Because isn't it you're allowed to take 1 action, and then if available, and if you can complete it, you can take the secondary action. Kind of like a double action on your turn. But I remember
that's where optimization comes in.
Yeah.
Like, oh, can I make this as good as possible?
Yeah.
Between the bottom and the top. Forgot about that.
Okay, so someone sat me down, explained the rules to me. I said, "Oh, so but when did the mech start fighting? When do we have the entrenched first World War sweeping armies across the? I didn't catch that in the rules. Wait, what was that about how does the combat work, Tom?
I think the combat is really good. I don't know. You're probably going to disagree with me here, but I think the combat has a good system because it's kind of like poker. It's like the war in this game is more of it's like posturing. You're supposed to put them in places to deter war, and it's actually quite unwise to battle people at the beginning. You have to build before you can do anything, and the war system is about like uncertainty and hidden information. So you have everyone knows your level on the power track or whatever it's called. And then you have this dial, and then you have the additional cards, which you can supplement your power with, and whoever has the highest power is the winner, I believe. So there's this moment of like somewhat bluffing, or even you could underpower yourself on purpose so that in future states you're more powerful than your opponents. So I think it's about that kind of hidden information makes the war quite interesting, actually.
I agree that's how it works. But if I look at the box cover, and I see 5 mechs on each side going at it, cannons blazing. That's not what I was getting from the combat. I was getting, just don't do it. That's a terrible idea. And when they explain the rules, then they say, this happens, then if you lose, you go all the way back to the start. I say, why would I? So you wouldn't want to fight that at all? Yeah, it's probably not a good idea. Oh, well, at least I can walk across the rivers. No rivers for you.
That's an upgrade, isn't it?
It is an upgrade.
By putting a mech on the board, you're allowed to do that, I think.
So, I think, obviously, we talked about the box art and everything, and your interpretations of it, Ben. But the biggest misconception of Scythe is that it's an aggressive game. But that's like obviously the major plus of the artwork is the draw, because it is phenomenal artwork, and I mean we haven't even mentioned the encounter cards yet, how beautiful they are, but. Like Ethnos, they're dismissed very quickly because you're just looking for your rewards on them, unless you take time to actually look at the encounter cards. But instead of it being an aggressive game, as is suggested by these hulking mechs on the box art, it's pretty passive aggressive. It's more engine builder than combat game, by all means. Or like, what was it, player board builder, when you're kind of working on separate factions. That's just like one of the small elements of the game, the combat. But yeah,
that's what it implies by the name Scythe, isn't it? It's both agricultural, it's like a economic warfare, and also warfare, normal warfare, which you can do with a scythe too. I remember reading that.
Yeah.
But then if you compare that to
what warfare have you cracked into, Tom?
just like regular warfare and like
just my regular
today's scything of people I don't like. But I think I was saying this to Dave last night when we were driving home. I think I like the contrast of this and Root. So Scythe has this box that really suggests it's going to be really aggressive. There's all these mechs stomping around and killing each other, but actually underneath it's like this equilibrium of economic kind of player board engine building. And then Root has this sort of cute, charming box art done by Carl Ferrin, whatever his name is, like quite delightful. And in that way, it's kind of disarming, and it says to players that you don't have to take this too seriously. It is actually a war game underneath, right? It's basically just brutal warfare, and they said it's like light-hearted in a sense that way. So I quite like that. So those two are kind of like inverse of each other in a sense.
I agree with everything you say. I was so crushingly disappointed.
It is that, yeah, I can understand that, because it's like you really had expectations and then they were violated,
massive.
And then it's like
violated is the word, Tom. Violated.
Can I'd like to just talk about the battle system quickly. I really love it. It's one of the things that stuck out to me in Scythe, because you have this battle, or your strength track, I guess, and you're building it up. But to build that up, you have to take actions which will result in that happening. And so you never really know, do I need to build my strength up, because am I going to need to defend my territories, or is my opponent going to do something else? So building that up is going to be a waste of my time. And then when it does happen and you do have to go into combat, you've sort of, well, I've got loads of strength, so I don't have to worry about, I know that they're going to lose, but then they might surprise you with some really good cards. So you've kind of got this balance between what cards you have and your strength. And then again, if you have high strength and you use all your strength in a battle, your opponent might use a really low amount of strength and lose. But what they've done is weakened you because you've put all of your resources into your defense. And I think that's a really clever way to manage a battle system. I thought it was really interesting, especially for a game that's not really about combat. To have such a good combat system really impressed me. But I at the same time, though, I do completely agree, Ben. It is a box that you look at and you think, wow, so, okay, there's obviously going to be some farming and stuff, but then all those mechs, look at those mechs in the background. This is going to be a big mech-filled battle game with farmers running around between their feet trying to harvest their corn.
It really does suggest that.
Yeah.
I thought the farmers were there for scale.
Okay.
I was going to say, I didn't think farming had anything to do with it.
No, I looked at the mechs. I thought, oh my God, they're giant. So the farmers there to give them some sort of, these are massive. Oh yeah, no, I didn't realize that was the.
But I think actually the combat is one of the problems of the game also, because it kind of says to you that the best thing to do is to not fight until you have sufficient combat, i.e. like total, before you've got your victory condition, before you start fighting. And I think that some people go and they take the opposite tack and they try and attack people early on because that's a way of countering that. But it doesn't normally pay off for them. You have to really bide your time and choose the particular point in which you're going to pounce, in a sense.
Agreed. Yeah.
So it doesn't fit the box or the theme or whatever. But yeah, hey ho.
Hey ho. Okay, so that was the rules. How would you say the game plays? I'm going to say it's open information, but also, would you say it is a lucky or strategic game? Gerald?
I would say it's predominantly because it's an engine builder, I'd say it's predominantly a strategic game. There are elements of luck, however, in the fact that, well, it's right at the beginning when you're doing player setup. With the proper setup, you're supposed to be have randomized factions. And so obviously in which faction you have is going to determine your gameplay. And you have, I mentioned them before, the encounter cards. So these little discs on the board, you can go and walk over there and pick up the encounters, and then it has some sometimes seemingly quite random rewards on there which you can pick from. So there's that element of luck. Otherwise, it kind of works like any other engine builder where, dare I say, you can end up going into a bit of like multiplayer solitaire mode, where you're just working on your own board, trying to optimize your board before you can go out. It does encourage player interaction, but I have played games before where I can spend a lot of time, like many other engine builders, just kind of in my own little world without having to worry, unless someone is, like Tom mentioned before, gunning for that kind of aggressive move first. But obviously, usually before you can even do that, you have to have upgraded your mix and got enough on the board to warrant attacking someone else early on. So it's not happened very often to me. But God, what was I saying? Strategic and luck. Yes, I would say it's predominantly a strategic game because it's all about optimization. That's what it's about.
What do you say, Tom? Agreed?
Well, I think I sort of agree, but I sort of think that also causes another bottleneck in this game, which is that like once you've learned the particular faction that you're starting, they will have like some sort of challenge that they have to overcome in the early game, and then once you've identified that, it becomes this kind of template that you play out, and you know that you're going to start building resources and doing all these engine building stuff. So the strategy is in the later half of the game, like maybe 3/4 of the way through. Once you've got everything, and then you can start exploring and exploiting some of the things that you've been doing. And I think strategy is there rather than the engine building, because I think most people know how to kind of optimize those resources at the beginning. But I think that's an interesting question in itself. Like it plays with that exploration trade-off.
That's the thing, don't you feel? But by the time everyone's kind of built up, because you obviously, like you say, you're set on those rails. Your game plan's essentially set out, determined by the faction you have, and by the time you're able to actually explore the world, and that's usually like mid-game or whatever, you know, someone's invariably gone around and picked up some encounter cards and kind of killed the shared element on the world board. Again, it feels like, you know, potential creativity of the players that's been sacrificed for the desired balance of the game. Where I mean, I know a lot of people complain about that. I don't think I've played Scythe enough to get to that stage yet. I think this is a problem you've had, Tom, with the whole like directed gameplay. I'm still in my first, 10 games of Scythe where I'm still exploring all the factions. So I haven't played every single faction yet. So I'm unaware of this.
I mean, I really enjoyed the journey of learning all these factions, and they become visible after playing it a few times, right? But that doesn't mean I didn't enjoy it. It was full of joy, these games, actually. It's a brilliant game. I mean, but it does get repetitive. However, I would say that something to mitigate that is the modular board, which they also offer, right? And then there's the expansion, what are we talking about? Wind Gambit, which kind of inserts some more volatility into the board, because there's these flying things that can like work in different ways. And I've only played that once, but it changed everything to the point where I no longer could rely on these set repetitive things to get me to the point where I was strong enough to then go out and mess around.
Yeah.
So yeah, those things are pretty fun too. I'd like to play them more actually, but I don't know why. It just goes to the back of the shelf.
Hey,
nice.
There were two things that were mentioned there, which turned me off the game, which made me really dislike it. One was the open information, and you said almost like a programmed movie. You don't have. You think you have lots of options, but really there's only one thing you can usually do, or the one sensible thing. And I noticed the guy to my left, so he's going to go after me, was just looking at my board, looking at the thing, looking at my board, saying, "Oh, next turn, the only thing you can do is that." And so I go, "Oh no, well, oh yeah, okay, well yeah." So I got to do this, and then he would go. So, and that happened a few times. I'm thinking, why? There's nothing else I can do here. It has to be this thing. I have to do this, otherwise it's suicidal. I give up this, or I lose there, or it was. I didn't feel like I was really playing the game. I just was there observing, and then that's why I thought, okay, fair enough. I didn't enjoy it, but we'll give it a second go. And then the second game, this guy got the perfect matchup of its faction and starting player board, right? And just steamrolled us. There's nothing we could do. It was this. He was a good game player, so he clearly worked out. He looked at his faction, he looked at the board, and thought, "Oh yeah, this is what I've got to do." Just steamrolled us. And I said then, I am never playing this game again. This is
because if you play it with things like that, like
I spent 2 hours here. I don't think it even lasted 2 hours. I think the game was over quite quickly. But I was so excited. This is supposed to be my grail game sort of thing. I've sat here miserable for an hour just watching this guy dominate.
Is that the same guy?
Done.
It was the same guy who played June Imperium the other day. I'm gonna get you, man.
Because it sounds like rather than the game, you just had terrible player experience.
No. I don't think that. You play the game that's in front of you, right? If there was hidden information, if I had a few...
Sometimes.
Now, or because... So again, I read it a little while ago, This is
Right.
a profound moment. A guy talking about how luck works in games, and what is perceived to be fair and unfair. And it's the idea that you are given some luck, and then you have to work around it or work with it or in some way. So like Catan, massively popular, right?
Okay.
You roll the dice, everyone gets their stuff, and then you try and work around that. You didn't get anything, well, try and trade it. Or there are games where luck is inflicted upon you, and there's nothing you can do about that. And those are the games that are perceived as unfair, difficult, make people very upset. And there was nothing we could do about it. There was random player board and random faction, and the guy got the perfect setup, and nothing we could do. And it was then an hour of us watching us.
Also, let's recast it in terms of other games. Imagine there's some other game where someone is clearly an expert, like chess, and they just played at their maximum potential with beginners. It would be everyone has to be an equivalent level for it to be fun in that sense.
Yeah, we all started. We
that's a
bought the
thing
game
that games
together.
suffer from, right?
Yeah,
it's just the nature of the game, I guess.
We all started. He wasn't an expert. I wouldn't play with you, Tom. I mean, what's the point of that, right? But we'd all started at the same time. Yeah, that's how they get you. We'd all start at the same time. He just happened to have, and I remember he was sitting thinking, "Well, I've got to do this," because again, there's nothing you can't, like you say, your strategy is chosen by the setup you get. So you look at it and think, right, well, I have to do this because that's my thing.
Well, actually,
I did not enjoy that.
It does. It kind of says it's kind of a game that says it's got sort of semi-open world. It kind of suggests you can do whatever you want and take whatever route you want to victory. But actually, it's not like that. It sort of chokes you a little bit, as you say, depending on who you are.
If they didn't have the faction, if everyone had the same player board, and that's okay, fair enough. You can try a different strategy, but because the faction and player boards are unique to each other, and then the selection is unique, well, there's nothing you can do. Nothing we can do.
It's a bit like Burgundy. Right? There's an optimal player map set, and then there's the side where there's a standard side. So that would level this out. But...
So on the flip side, Stonemaier has done viticulture, which I love viticulture. Everyone's got the same player board. You get slight variation in starting, but that's not that good, right? Cards you're going to acquire through the game, that adds a bit of luck, but you don't get more cards, right? So I really love viticulture. I did not like this feeling that I was not in control of the game, that it just been subjected, and it was all really down to the luck of the draw and the very first thing we did. That frustrated me immensely.
That's unfortunate. I really like Scythe. I mean, I don't know. I haven't played it in a while, but I've never thought of it as lucky. Not at all. Not in my plays of it personally. I didn't experience any sort of luck. It felt to me very strategic, but I haven't had a negative experience of it, so I can't really comment on that side. But yeah, I don't know. I really enjoy it. I thought
the first time I played it was with you, Dave. Now I remember we played it 2-player, right? And
that's why you love it so much, Tom, because you had such a positive experience. That is it. That's what happened.
I remember thinking like that's a really cool game because there's a lot of scope for me to go and do stuff. And then we were moving around the board and having a lot of fun. But then after time passes, you start to realize that there are these kind of railroads in it. But I don't think that defines it. It's just a thing that it has as a game.
Sure. Yeah.
I don't know. I think there's enough fun to be had in the.
Do you think it has a shelf life then because of that?
I don't know. I guess so, because I guess that's kind of what's happened to me. But then again, I haven't bothered to go out there and get the modular board or the other.
Yeah, I wonder if the modular board is why it came out.
The modular board is expansion.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
so that makes I thought no, I don't remember a modular board. Okay, this makes sense. Okay,
that would really kind of mitigate a lot of these problems, I think, actually, because there's no way of memorizing a modular board. Not that needs to be memorized. I mean,
I get the impression from playing other Stonemaier games that Jamie Stegmaier is kind of a designer who he likes to find that in other games as well. I know he does like his videos where he comments on his favorite mechanisms of a game, and I get the impression he's always wanting to improve the gaming experience. Which is why he releases these expansions, like the same with Euphoria, which had an expansion fairly recently, which is fairly old game. But I get the impression that he's always got these ideas for games, and you can't put everything in, which is why a lot of designers come up with expansions, right? And maybe the modular board is his answer to that. Sort of people kind of learning the game and then kind of min-maxing it. Maybe the modular board was designed so that it stops that, because it's a very popular game, and obviously maybe it just gives it more shelf life, I guess.
Why? So here's a question, because I've been thinking about it, obviously, in the run up to it. It is wildly popular.
Yeah.
Do you think it's one of those games like Gloomhaven? Right? Gloomhaven is kind of like, I've never actually played it, but this is what people say, is a Euro game dressed up as an Ameritrash game, something else, right? A conflict heavy or very thematic. But at its root, it is basically a Euro game. And Board Game Geek is Euro. It leans towards the Euros much more than anything else. Do you think that is why it's wildly popular? Gerald, you haven't heard you for a while.
I don't know. I think it comes back to the theme, or the however you want to say, whether you think the theme's done well in the game. I think because it's such a unique idea, and obviously the game looks so brilliant, and it has got this mishmash of awesome Euro mechanics in there. I don't know otherwise, because I rate, I think Euphoria is a better game than Scythe. I enjoy Euphoria more than Scythe, and I don't understand why that's not. Am I right in saying it's nowhere near as high in the ranks, is it?
No,
Euphoria,
nowhere close.
But that's just like,
it's quite far. Well,
I don't understand why though. I personally don't get it, because Euphoria is, to me, oh my gosh, that game's so good.
Yeah,
and it's just so clean, and there's no like messing around. There's no gumph, and there's none of this chat about like the mechs don't work as the mechs are supposed to, and all this sort of thing. I don't understand, actually. So it must come down to like the theme, right?
Yeah.
And
I think
I
think it's also the shelf presence, because I mean you can't deny it. Like Scythe does stick out.
That's
everything about that box is perfect.
Yeah.
Like even like the the typography they used as the logo and stuff is just so well done. It all just blends into a perfect. It looks. Do you know what it looks like? The picture itself, like the illustration on the box, looks like a really stunning landscape painting that you'd have on a wall somewhere. So I think it really sticks out in that respect, because most boxes, although there are some phenomenal boxes out there, they don't look like Scythe. I can't think of any other board games that quite look like that.
I don't think any board game cover.
Sorry, apart from Curse of Burgundy,
I don't think any box cover has ever topped that. That is a genuine.
Well, there you go. That could be an answer.
But yeah, you look at that and you think, right, I really love Euro games. Puerto Rico, Scythe. It's not a difficult decision, is it? And I think that's genuinely why it's wildly popular.
It's also the name,
people
right?
really like Euro games.
Do you not think the name as well, Scythe? It's one of those. It just attracts attention as a name.
Yeah, it's a banging title for a game, isn't it? Like Tom says before, it's like it tells you so much about what the game's going to be, in the respect that so Eastern European, like dystopia, diesel punk, 1920s, got a bit of Soviet action going on there. Got some farming. Everyone likes a bit of farming. Got a bit of combat. Maybe not as much as the farming, but nevertheless, we like a bit of combat as well. Good title. I like the title.
Yeah.
I think we should just take the mechs over to a different game, like Viticulture, and just bring those mechs into the crush pads or something.
You could, right? Yeah, you have like an extra mech just plodding along. I keep going back, to the mechs, but it feels like they're actually, for me, like the most disappointing bit of the game. Not that I don't like using them, and I love having them, but if you compare it to the rest of the game, like those mechs are so built up from the second you look at that box. And like,
they're also a big part of the game, aren't they? In component wise, I mean, literally, physically, they're a big part of the game. Yeah.
What they do is distinctly underwhelming, though, isn't it? Right?
Yes, I can even handle it if you clashed on a certain square. I remember thinking this: if you clashed on a certain square and you lose, you retreat one square. Yeah, okay,
I'll go over that.
And maybe, go back to the start. I was like, what?
I like how I'll be the voice of dissent here, but I like how the mechs subvert the expectations, because you've got them, you pick them up, you put them on the board, you're like, yeah, these are gonna be really cool, and in the end, they're basically a way to carry your farmers. Like, I'm just going to carry my farmers. But I like that about the game, because if you take photos of this game, it looks phenomenal, and you're like, oh, what are those mechs doing? Are they out there like fighting? No, they're just guarding the farmers. Like they're just sitting there carrying the farmers around, and I love it. I think that's great. It's like if you had It's like if you had like a T-Rex in a game, and all it did was pick up like one of your cubes and moved it across a board to deliver it somewhere.
It like carefully picks up a mice.
Yeah,
and just puts it
yeah,
in
and then it goes back and does the same. Also,
Gerald,
anyone
Gerald,
out
do you
there,
remember
that is my idea for a ball game. Please don't steal it.
Gerald, do you remember that post-apocalyptic classroom game that we're designing?
Yeah.
David's off the team.
What's he talking about? T-Rex that picks up boxes.
You'd be like,
of
oh,
cargo.
we'll get Mad Max, but he's like the lunch lady. You're out. Out.
That's an inspired idea.
David,
Yes.
how does a game of Scythe end?
It
Tom,
ends by.
how
No,
does
come on. I know
it
this.
end?
It ends. The reason it take a while is because I have to put these banners up at the same time. So I'm trying to speak and look through buttons, and that's very confusing for my brain.
Two things at the same time, David.
Yeah,
Oh,
tell me.
Dave.
It ends by putting your. I'm not sure what they call it in Scythe. Is it influence or?
Star token.
Yeah, that's the one. Wooden star. So
Yeah.
it ends by putting 10 of your. I believe it's 10, is it? Or is that
Six.
that's just Euphoria? Is it 6? Oh, it's because Euphoria also uses stars, which are influence, and I'm not sure which is which.
Does it end
yes,
immediately, or does everyone get one more turn?
I think it ends immediately.
Immediately.
Yeah, as soon as you put 6 of your let's call them influence, but I'm not sure that's what it is. As soon as you put 6 of your influence stars down on the board, which are a track at the top of the board, which you will be putting down throughout the game by achieving certain things. So when you have like all 4 mechs on the board, for example, you put a star down, or when you defeat someone in battle, I think when you win your first battle, you put a star down. Once you've got all 6 of those out, the game ends immediately. And although they're not particularly hard to put out in terms of what you have to do to achieve them, like getting all your mechs on the board takes time, but in essence it's pretty simple step. You just need to keep working towards doing that. It can take quite a long time to achieve each one, so the game's quite interesting because everyone's trying to achieve them, but they might be achieving different ones at the same time. So if someone's got loads of mechs out and someone has achieved simply by doing something else like having encounters, you might have the advantage in combat, so you can go and sweep across and get more stars out that way, but then they might have more bonuses from their encounters, so they can get other stuff out more easily. I think it's quite an interesting system, to be honest. I think
what's really special about it is it doesn't matter who actually triggers into the game. That doesn't to know who wins, right? It's all based on
that's right. Yeah,
the popularity that you have is multipliers or whatever, the money, I think it is.
Yeah, it's money you're counting up. Yeah, at the end.
So it's like that's all kind of nice. It all fits in with a theme. You're trying to take over a land and remain popular. And if you're a bad person, from a conspiracy, if you're a deplorable leader, then you might make your serfs suffer.
Yeah,
I do remember the situation where you're sitting across the table. There's the third person. You can see that he's got 5 out. The 6 is coming.
it's the same guy again.
It's not.
It's that guy. Who is
I
this
did
guy?
play with some intense guys, but I remember. So you'll get your 6 star down on your next turn. Okay, so it doesn't matter what I do.
I do genuinely. I agree with you because I've actually Euphoria suffers from this because it's literally just put your stars down. You just got to get rid of all your stars. That's 10 stars, and you can see when endgame's coming. And if you're like that salty bastard, and you can see like that person opposite you is going to win, like, well, there's no point in finishing my turn because you've already won. Yeah, finish the game. I'm not going to finish it. Take away your
last time we played Euphoria, I think it did end basically like, well, I've got no chance of winning now because this is done.
It does end.
That is a downside, definitely.
That is a downside. Whereas Scythe, what I think is kind of cool is we've been in situations before where, oh man, I could put my 6th star down here, but I'm wrecked on popularity, or I don't have that much cash, so I'm really holding off the end game, which I think is like just a little tweak on what Euphoria does. But it's clever. I like the end game in this one. It works well.
Whereas someone else might be pushing for the end game, and you're going to have to try and hold them off.
Yeah. It can lead to some awesome situation. Whereas, and again, I have played in that situation before where, that person has got all the popularity. They're loaded, and you can see like they're just going to smash out their 6th star really easily. He's like, no, I'm not playing. I'm going to pack up the game before we finish.
Another one of those like distracting, kind of dazzling things is the factory in the middle, right? Because it's like, oh, it's worth 3 more, I think, or something. The people who go after it spend all of their game trying to retain this one space, ignoring the rest, and it doesn't really do that much. It's not that great.
I do the same thing in Alien Frontiers with the relic ship. That's all
yeah.
I want.
Yeah.
I want that relic ship, and Dave's
Give
always
me it
there to take
now.
it away from me.
It's the same in Twilight Imperium as well with like Mechatol Rex. Everyone
Yeah.
goes for that. It's the
Yeah.
same. Yeah, it's a very similar thing. Yeah,
I like that.
I do find that I like it because it's very you always have one player. We've got one player in our group in Twilight Imperium who does the same. They always go for the middle thing first.
Yeah.
And then they struggle to hold on to it. And yes, Scythe definitely has that. And it's kind of like, was there any real reason to? And it's like there's an instant gratification from taking it, but then you lose a lot of stuff trying to defend it. Yeah, I love that.
That does actually remind me of the other things. Like the more workers you pile onto a space, the more they lose when they try and take it from you, because then they lose. I think they lose popularity based on how many people they send.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, yeah.
So that's kind of a nice little mechanism that keeps things in check. But then people just go to that middle space and just bundle everything on. It's like,
I like that. I like that. You know, all these workers getting attacked by this massive mech. Instead of actually getting destroyed, they run away and just gossip about the other faction, saying how naughty they are and stuff.
That
they're
mech's
really mean. They're so mean with their mech.
Got mean mech.
You're unpopular now.
Yeah. So thematic. So thematic.
Straight to Reddit.
You squashed my child's legs, but.
So, gentlemen,
Yes.
final thoughts.
Final thoughts.
Wait, I've got a button for that.
Sorry.
Nice.
Do you like Scythe?
I think we can all agree after having this chat that Scythe is a wonderful game, and I want to play it again.
I'm with Dave on this one. I'm still relatively fresh to Scythe. It still interests me, and I'm still at that exploratory phase. I'll be very interested to see what my thoughts are, obviously, when I've played it as much as, let's say, Tom has, and I can see that kind of that kind of railing of player actions when they get those factions. I'm interested to get to that point, but right now for me, Scythe's still a bit of a winner.
The thing is as well. Sorry, just quickly, when we do finally play it again, for me anyway, it's been such a long time. It will be like a big reset.
Yeah, it will be.
It won't. I don't remember a lot of the rules to this game, and as you're talking about, it's coming back to me. So for me, it's like starting again. So if I I'd have to play a lot of games to get to the point where I start seeing the strategies and stuff.
Did you not in preparation? Oh, sorry,
how many times have you played this, Tom?
You're asking me, sorry.
Yeah.
I've probably played it maybe 25 times. I don't know, maybe more. I don't know. I played it loads because we have it here. Me and Simon play here in London. So when it came out, shortly after, we just smashed it over and over again with different types of people. But
you played the online version as well, haven't you, Tom?
Yeah, I did. When lockdown hit, I also played the online version. So that was another way of playing it. Actually, do you know what? That really does reveal another side to it. I think you wouldn't necessarily get from the physical format. Okay. But having said all of that, and after all those plays, I still retain. It's still an excellent game, and I think that no game doesn't suffer from some limitations. And I think that all games can be kind of learned in some sense or min-max, but that doesn't mean it's a bad game. I think it's really well designed. It's got some exhilarating mechanisms in it, brilliant combinations, and yeah, it's an excellent game. Still stand by that, I suppose.
Ben, where are you at with it?
Sorry you didn't enjoy it, Ben. I feel like I designed the bloody thing.
You changed your mind, Ben? What's going on?
No. I will never play that game again.
I still maintain it's because you had bad player experience rather than bad game experience.
No, it's just a Euro. I'm not a massive. There was no interactivity. There was no. I'm not a massive Euro. It's definitely a Euro game. The second they said no conflict, I said, oh, that's odd. Player boards moving things around. Move a cube here, move a cube there. So this is a Euro game. And I wasn't massively keen on it. And then that linking of the second game we played, faction player board, perfect combination, steamrolled it. I was like, nah, done with this. Okay. Unless there was some way to mitigate that, which I'm just not interested in finding out. Really dislike the game.
I'd really like to go back to what Jerry said earlier as well. I agree that Euphoria, I think, is my favourite. I said this a few weeks ago when I first played it, but I do think that's my favourite Stonemaier game. And I don't know where I stand on Viticulture and Scythe, which one would be second. I love Viticulture, but I've played Viticulture so much that I'm kind of leaning towards Scythe in that it's still quite new to me and still quite exciting. But Euphoria is, in my view, his most perfect game in that there's literally nothing wrong with it. It just works. Everything works. There's no, once you've learnt the rules, there's no rules questions. It just flows as a really nice game. And I think that's what makes that my favorite. And I think Scythe would probably be it's very close to Viticulture for me. But that might be because, as we said before, we're new to it still.
Yeah, there you go. Right, we'll call it a day there, gentlemen. It's been almost over an hour. Blimey. Almost like this is a really popular game that we have to talk about. Right. Well, Tom, thanks for joining us. Have you got over the whole deck building nightmare? Is it?
No, I'm still harboring some.
I have to apologize. I do apologize for that. I think I did apologize profusely on the day.
You did.
I'll apologize again.
You're quite gushing. No, it's okay. I think we can put that past us now. It's
good. I'm glad. I did help you through the Dune Imperium game once I'd figured out that you had no idea what was going on.
No, I thought you were quite accommodating. I think it was all in your head.
No, I was definitely pretty vicious in that in the Flamme Rouge. So what the hell is wrong with you?
Wow. Yeah, no, it's been a pleasure coming on. So thanks for having me on.
Thanks, Tom. I think we'll have you on again.
Welcome.
Nice.
We'll find something. We'll find a good game for you to talk about. Okay, so it's goodbye from me.
Goodbye from me.
Goodbye from me.
And also me.
Well done, Tom.